news out of Cleveland, the Cleveland football team, their head coach Kevin Stefanski announcing that Deshaun Watson, the much embattled Deshaun Watson, that is he going to play or not play? That would be no. He's not going to play Sunday against the Seattle Seahawks because of a phantom shoulder injury. And that means P.J. Walker, a man that has absolutely failed as an NFL quarterback, will take over again as the starting QB for the second time in 3 weeks. Now, Walker played most of the game last week also. He didn't start, but he played most of the game last week. Didn't play well, but did end up helping, I guess, the Browns winning the game. There was a late drive that was pushed across the finish line by a couple of terrible calls by the referees. But anyway, well, Deshaun Watson has missed 2 games with a shoulder injury. He returned last week. And Stefanski said that they decided that there's residual swelling. Apparently, it's not going to stop swelling before the weekend. And so that has opened up chatter to what else is going on behind the scenes. We talked about this in a previous episode of the show. Palace intrigue in Cleveland, Deshaun Watson huffing and puffing, wanting to blow the whole house down, upset with Kevin Stefanski, who publicly outed Deshaun Watson as a fraud. The Cleveland Browns coach announcing Watson had been medically cleared to play. The Browns expected him to play. This is a game several weeks ago. The players on the Browns assumed Watson was going to play, and Watson, a couple hours before the game, said, "Psych! I ain't playing." And that rubbed a bunch of people the wrong way. We're annoyed by that. And so here we are again, Watson not playing because of, quote, residual swelling, close quote. And so the chatter is that Cleveland is finally putting their arms up and they're like, okay, we'll just throw the sponge and we've got a quarterback issue here. And we finally realize it. We were in denial, but now we're not in denial. So the question is this. Is it already time for the Browns? Is it already time for the Browns to get out of the Deshaun Watson business? And I'm nodding my head. Yes, I've got Pepsi, Father, and Studs. And we will combine all of these things together, and we are going to make a nice all-you-can-eat buffet, which I have not been to an all-you-can-eat buffet. Last time I was in Vegas, I ate at an all-you-can-eat buffet. I ate too much, and I got really sick, but it turned out it was my gallbladder. It wasn't the food. It was my gallbladder acting up, but I don't have the gallbladder anymore, so I should probably go back. All right, so again, the question, is it already time for the Browns to get out of the Deshaun Watson business? The answer is yes. Now, number one. Yeah. Oh, you cut that one off. Play that again. Number one. Is it breaking? Is our number one button broken? Inquiring minds would like to know.
No, I was just playing around with it.
No.
Just having some fun.
We're doing serious work.
Very serious.
We're doing very important work, Iowa Sam. There's no need for you to play around. So get to the point, please. Here's the point. The quarterback of the Cleveland football team is the M word. Malingering. This is a malingering quarterback, Deshaun Watson, and it would appear that the Browns organization has started to have a come-to-Jesus moment here. They've seen the light. They're trying to find salvation. Enough is enough. Any way you slice it, even the most die-hard Cleveland Brown fan that leaves skid marks in his underwear, he loves the Browns that much, even that person has to admit, disaster. Quarterback disaster. Biblical. Again, Watson medically cleared to play a month ago. Either the Browns medical staff is completely incompetent or Deshaun Watson is guilty of, as we said, malingering. There is no other acceptable answer. So Cleveland football, here's what they got for Deshaun Watson. They paid a lot of money. They traded a bunch of picks. Who cares about that? And Deshaun Watson has brought to Ohio the happy baby yoga pose and shame, the scarlet letter. They should put that on the helmet of the Cleveland Browns, the scarlet letter, because they're all owning it. Now, they being the Cleveland Browns, would have overlooked Deshaun Watson situation if he was living up to his end of the bargain. Now, if you read the fine print, the minutia on Deshaun Watson's contract, spoiler alert, he's not living up to the contract, not in the least. And so I want to do something we haven't done in a while. I would like to bring the Sports Talk Radio version of the Pepsi Challenge. Sports Talk Radio version, Pepsi Challenge. So try to remember. I'm going to give you some numbers here. Try to remember, and I'm going to take away the name tags. Here's the Pepsi Challenge. We're going back the last 10 games played. Quarterback A 59% completion percentage, 11 touchdowns, 8 interceptions, averaging less than 6 yards per pass attempt, a passer rating of 79.8, and 5 fumbles. That's quarterback A. Quarterback B, 61% completion percentage, 13 touchdowns, 10 interceptions, 6.2 yards per pass, and a passer rating of 80.2 and 7 fumbles. And now, reveal answers. Reveal answers. Take the blindfold off on the Pepsi Challenge. Quarterback A is Deshaun Watson, the guy with 11 touchdowns and 8 interceptions over his 10 games in Cleveland. Quarterback B, that would be Carson Wentz. Now, quarterback A has a $230 million contract, guaranteed money. Quarterback B is posting selfies hunting out in the woods right now because he's not playing in the NFL. Deshaun Watson has morphed into Carson effing Wentz, and nobody wants to talk about it. It's ridiculous. All right. Now, turning the page on that, how would a Deshaun Watson relocation situation work? How would it work? So if you have a problem, you need an answer. And that's why you turn to overnight talk radio. We have all the answers under the cover of darkness. All right, so you got to get creative. Now, here's why. The Browns can't just release Deshaun Watson. Now, I'm normally a salary cap truther, and I am a salary cap truther. But this is the exception to the rule. If the Browns were to outright release Deshaun Watson, put him on waivers, that means they would lose $136.9 million, roughly 53% of the entire 2024 salary cap. That is what's known as no bueno. So that ain't going to happen. And even if they say we're going to release you after June 1st, which a lot of teams do, June 1st after the season during the summer, they would still lose $92 million, we are told. So the soonest the Browns could actually release Deshaun Watson without getting just bent over the table would be 2026. That would be the soonest. So that means you must turn to Plan B. And what is Plan B? Plan B is the father. Father Flanagan. You got to find a Father Flanagan coach. That's the key. And it's the greater fool theory. The Texans found an idiot to take Watson while he was being accused of playing touchy-feely with the massages and then paid him. That's the Browns. Now the Browns have to find the greater fool to take Watson off their hands. You say, well, there's no way. It'll never happen. Want to bet on that? I got the perfect scenario here. You got to find somebody who's got bravado, somebody who's arrogant, somebody who thinks they're God's gift to coaching, who also happens to have a quarterback problem. That person lives in the Rocky Mountains. Sean Payton. He doesn't like Russell Wilson, right? We know that. Body language. Doesn't like Russell Wilson. Would love to get rid of Russell Wilson. Would love to send him on a one-way ride to outer space. Get him out of here. So if they could work out the logistics of a Russell Wilson for Deshaun Watson trade, you would be trading a stomach ache for a headache. Now, you still got an ache, but it's a different kind of ache. And I would have said the Patriots, but Robert Kraft ain't going to pay Deshaun Watson that kind of money. Forget about it. And so that ain't going to happen. Now, final point. Interesting story out of the football world in Tennessee. The Tennessee football team, better known as the Titans, they are resurrecting the Houston Oilers uniforms. Now, we've known about this for some time. It's not new. We've seen photos on the internet, but they're going to wear them this weekend when they play the Atlanta Falcons. And that's about the only reason to watch that game. The only reason to watch that game is to, if you're old and you remember the old Love Me Blue Houston Oilers, to watch for those uniforms. Now, the person who is entering the chat is a guy named J.J. Watt. Did J.J. Watt ever play for the Houston Oilers? No. He played for the cheap ripoff, the Texans. He played for the Texans. And he recently ranted that the Oiler logo, he went in so many words saying the Oilers logo should not be worn outside of Houston. Now, it is technically true. When the Oilers moved to Tennessee, they moved to Memphis first, and they were called the Tennessee Oilers before they changed their name. But how do you grade? How do you grade J.J. Watt's passionate defense to the fans in Houston that the Oilers logo should stay in that city? So on the MALLER grading book, I give this an A+. I'm going to give a rare A+ for J.J. Watt. He's spot on. And I want to let every man, woman, and child know, when I become the czar of sport, which may happen later today, I don't know, maybe I'll be named the czar of sport. But when I am named the czar of sport, franchise relocation will have different rules. If you're planning on selling your team like that weasel owner in Oakland, you have to then put the team up for auction first, and if nobody bids for the team at the reasonable asking price, you are then allowed to move the team to another city. If that happens. If you can't find another aristocrat. But here's the thing. If you do move the franchise, you know what happens? We bring in the demo team. Demolition Derby. We bring them in, and you gut your franchise down to the studs. And I'm not talking about the players on the field. You leave the name, image, and likeness behind. The Oilers belong in Houston. Love me blue. The Sonics are Seattle's. Now, it sounds like they're going to bring back the Sonics name when they get the expansion team in a couple of years in Seattle, so good. The Expos, Montreal. I don't want to see any nationals. I see these national things. Well, they're the old Montreal Expos. No, they're not. The Laker name goes back to Minnesota. Got to get a new name. Got to go to a new name. The Dodgers, back to Brooklyn. They don't have a team, so what? New name. My Clippers, back to Buffalo. They were the Buffalo Braves originally, but they didn't take that name. They became the Clippers when they moved to San Diego. You can go down the list. The Giants, the San Francisco Giants, have to get a new name. That's a New York Giants name. That's not a San Francisco name. I can go on. The Rams, all my teams. The Rams, they originally were in Cleveland, so the Rams name's gone. And if you relocate, you leave behind name, image, and likeness. Who says no? Nobody says no. It's a great idea.